Hello and welcome to the BFM LUSU full-time officer debates with me, Tim Partington, and my co-host, Zaki Jaffrey. Hello, Zaki.
Hello. Hello.
And with me in the studio are the activities VP candidates for LUSU. Anna Kettle. Hello, Anna.
Hi.
Ben Francis. Hello, Ben.
Which camera?
Kim.
Hey.
Helspeth. And Mike Sharat.
Hi.
I think I pronounced your name wrong again.
Yeah.
So just to kick us off, it would be great if you could all give us a flavour of your manifesto pledges, and you all have 2 minutes each just to give us a rundown. So should we start? We'll vary it, so I pick on a different person each time to make it fair. But Anna, do you want to go first?
Yeah, 2 minutes longer than I was expecting. Okay, so I have 4 main points in my manifesto. The first one is improve accessibility. This includes things like we're on the screen.
Hey.
That's distracting. This includes things like creating an accessibility fund for people who are on Lancaster access teams. Currently, we have one for sports to help pay for gym membership, but not one to help cover the cost of high cost societies, which locks a lot of low income students out of higher cost societies, as well as making sports for students with disabilities point scoring in Roses for the first time. My second point is a safer and better environment in sports for women plus minorities, including creating women plus only give it a go sessions and gym sessions, as well as bringing back hashtag this Roses girl can, because everyone loves a good hashtag. Thirdly, better welfare. So this includes introducing consent training for execs to create a better culture and a conversation around consent on campus. Currently, 1 in 5 women will unfortunately be the victims of sexual violence in their lifetimes, and a large section of that does happen unfortunately on university campuses with the people that we spend most of our times with, and those people are within the sports groups and societies that we are part of, so trying to eliminate that. Alongside that, expanding the UniSafe app to work off campus because our sports teams travel. Finally, better communications, including things like face-to-face forums once a term with students to get to the root of the problems execs face, and also working with VP Educations to get more support for our academic societies.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
And Mike?
Right, mine's a bit more simple. I have 3 main pledges. One is to do with recreational sport, i.e. Just Play. At the moment, Just Play is coming to the end of its funding, its 3-year funding. The Students' Union is in the process of deciding what to do, but obviously years to come, it's a bit unknown really what's going to happen, and I want to ensure that Just Play is here to stay, really. My second pledge is to increase the number of college sports available, just to make college sport better, really. I'm going to go about that by looking at Just Play statistics and see which are the most popular sports and pick those ones, really. And the third one is pushing for better facilities. There's already things in the pipeline, and I just want to do my part to make sure they go even further. Apart from that, I've also been looking at some grievances different societies have had. So hi guys of the people I've already seen.
I wasn't aware we could bring props.
So yeah, what I'm planning to do is, when I come around all the societies, is ask what their problems are and not promise to solve them, because there's been so many false promises in the past. What I want to do is just see what they are and try my best to go through them all if elected. Yeah.
Brilliant. And sorry, Ben.
Hi, so I've got 4 main pledges as well. Firstly is to increase participation across the board, across all sports and societies. I think participation in recreational sports and societies is one of the main aspects of Lancaster life, so I'd really like to push it, make sure as many students as can get involved. Secondly is to increase the number and variety of inter-college competitions through more matches in a variety of sports, and also through non-sports as well, such as the 9 College Challenge. Thirdly is to increase the communication and transparency between LUSU and the clubs and societies themselves, making sure that their views are heard within LUSU and see what the Students' Union can do for them throughout the year. Finally is Roses. I want a big, memorable Roses weekend, which gets everyone involved and is a big win for Lancaster as well.
Brilliant. And Kim?
So I don't really have a list of anything as such that is like a main point for me to tackle. Mostly I'm just looking to listen to societies and clubs and JCRs and things and see what they want from their VP's candidate. I know one thing that's a bit of an issue at the minute is like international student involvement and things, so I'd like to work closely with JCRs in terms of using their international officers to communicate with students, find out like what they want and things rather than trying to like second guess and stuff. And yeah, using JCRs more in terms of communicating with them about their inter-college sports, things like that. The sports committees and the societies committees that are currently set up within Lucio, I think using those more as well is a good way to sort of bridge the gap between the societies and clubs and Lucio, and yeah, having more communication between them.
Okay, so we'll basically just sort of go with a bit of off the cuff cross questioning now, and I was just wondering, Ben, how is it you're going to encourage participation? What's the mechanism that you're going to use?
So at the moment you have Freshers Fair at the start of the year, which is a great way to get involved. Every society and club is showing what they do, and it's great. You've got people out in the area by county. So firstly, make sure Freshers Fair continues to be a great event like that. Secondly, after the first couple of weeks, people can think, oh, is it too late to get involved in a club or society now? So have a big push kind of like week 2, week 3 to say it's not too late. Join up with the clubs and societies, like have all like the contacts available on social media, for example. And yeah, just encourage the clubs and societies themselves to keep pushing for new members throughout the year.
Brilliant. And Zaki, do you have any questions?
Mike, you were talking about increasing the sports available to colleges. Given that a lot of the sports at university actually plays that aren't college sports require a lot of investment and funding, how do you aim to do this on a college level as well as keeping up with the university level?
So you're asking how I'm going to fund these extra college sports? Well, this is one of the things which I'd have to have a look at, because obviously Just Play's had a huge success. It's an idea of looking for the gaps in between and seeing where there's room. Obviously there is a space problem on campus and the cost, but there are ways to work around that, and I'd look into it more once on the job. The main problem we probably all face is that there's quite a lot of unknowns. We can't know everything. Like, we don't know all the sports, we don't know all the activities. It's a case of seeing on the job a lot more.
And Anna, in terms of this anti-sexual harassment policy, what does that entail exactly?
So the university has recently invested in online consent and diversity training. You can use this and implement it for execs the same way that execs all have to do data protection training before you can gain access to the admin side of the NUS digital website. You could roll it out exactly the same way. It takes less than an hour to do, and in my opinion, if it helps even one person, it is worth doing.
Definitely. Okay, and Kim, just to round off the cross-questioning, I was wondering also how you are going to perhaps go about engaging more people in clubs and societies throughout the year.
Yeah, well, as I said, working with JCRs more, because obviously through them you've got freshers reps as well, that obviously normally one per flat in the kitchen, so you can engage with freshers through that if you're looking to go down and like sort of get more information to them. With the Freshers Fair as well, I think that's a really successful event. So maybe
I would say that maybe JCR is a little bit distant from the many students. Like, I know just looking around my flat, not many people even know. Well, they probably know there is a JCR, but they don't know who's on it. How would that work?
Yeah. Well, I disagree. I think a lot of people in my college do know their JCR. They know who they are. They recognise faces. Obviously, they've all been elected, so people know who they are. And so even if they didn't know who their sort of set JCR were, they know their freshers rep. The freshers rep has a house rep. The house rep is someone on the JCR. Well, it isn't like our college anyway. So there are ways to get through to contact people, and I think that's an easier way of bridging the gap, because I know, like with my college especially, like the rep role is for the whole year. It doesn't just end at Freshers Week, so it is like a continuing contact you've got with freshers for the entire year.
Okay. And Zach, do you have any more questions?
No.
So we'll just move on to sort of more set questions now. Zach, do you want to ask the first question?
Yeah, so it's important to have a clear idea of the problem that Lucy faces based on your own experience, so that you have the motivation to actually act on it and change it. What prompted your interest in the role of the activities full-time officer?
Mike.
Start with Mike, yeah.
So what prompted my interest in doing the role?
In doing the role, yes.
So when I came to Lancaster University, the one club I really wanted to go into was squash. So I go down there, go to trials, and then at the end of it, because I had a coaching qualification, I asked if there was any way I could do coaching there. And then about a week later, or at the weekend, they asked if I wanted to be second team captain. So from that point onwards, I think it was second week, I've been on the exec for squash and worked my way up of being second team captain, treasurer, and now I'm president. And I've just found it so fun doing that, along with Just Play, which I've also done from first year, where there's a big emphasis on getting new people to come to try out new things. And even now, like last week, there was new people just showing up, having a go on their own. It's brilliant to see, and I want to help that, really.
Brilliant. Ben?
The same question.
Yes.
So I've always been involved in sports since joining this university, a wide range of sports. So I've been on the athletics club, I've been in the running club, triathlon club. I've also played a bit of ultimate frisbee, and I've also been involved with the college sports, such as Founders, and on the bar sports team at the moment as well. And yeah, so I've always had a really active interest in a wide range of sports, and apart from the sports that I'm personally involved in, I've always taken an interest in those are my friends. I go down to watch their matches and like that, so especially at Roses, but outside of Roses as well, so throughout the year in the Bucks matches.
And in terms of like a problem that you think Lucy faces from your own experience, what problem would you identify? Sorry, I should have asked Mike on that as well. What problem would you identify that's come up that's really motivated you to want to change it?
So I think at the moment there seems to be maybe a disconnection between the students and Lucy. Maybe they don't feel that their views are heard, so I'd quite like to change that. So I'd like to, with the clubs and societies, one of my key points I raised earlier was to increase communication and transparency between Lucy. So at the beginning of the year I'd like to go around and meet all of the clubs and societies, even if it's just for a 5-minute chat, making sure, seeing what they want to do with their club throughout the year, and ask how Lucy can help with them. If they've got like issues that need to be raised outside of that, then we can meet later. Also regular drop-ins, so I'd be in, say, the Lucy offices, or maybe not even the Lucy offices, another place, advertise that I'm there at a certain time throughout the week. Clubs and societies, whether it's their president or just any member, can come and talk to me and raise their views about what Lucy can do for their club.
And Mike, just to go back on that, in terms of a problem you've actually faced that's motivated you?
Well, it's, one of the big problems is with participation is people being scared to do it, because at school they've never been good at sports and never wanted to try and be good at it. So there's loads of people here who face the problems that it's just too scary to go down and try a sport, and it's a big issue, and the only way to do it is to if you branch out enough, people start dragging their friends in. Once you get friends dragging in, you drag in more people, and I'd like to try and work on that.
Okay, and Kim? Do you want me to repeat the question again?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, the gist of it was that it's important to have a clear idea of what's a problem with the way Lucy handles sports and activities.
Yeah.
What's that main problem for you, and what prompted, and how did that help to prompt your interest in this role?
Well, my main interest in this role came through obviously my involvement with sports and things. Like when I came to Lancaster, I wasn't sporty in the slightest. I thought, I'll join like a sports society as a way to like meet people, because I know they're like quite a big heavy social aspect side to it. So I joined the class having like never played it before as well. So I understand like what you're saying about it being scary when you've never been down and done it before. But yeah, they were really welcoming, and I liked that about it, and so I carried on doing it. So then second year I ran for exec and I was treasurer for that year. I joined bar sports and college netball as well, off the back of obviously enjoying lacrosse so much. And being on the Roses Sports Committee as well, I got to go to York with the current VP activities to discuss like the sports that are currently involved in Roses, and like points value, things like that, and sort of have a hand in organising it this year. And I love Roses, it's just such a good event. I think sport and societies are so key to Lancaster and part of like the community that we all feel part of. I just wanted to be part of making that good for more people. Yeah, I do think, like you said, with the involvement is probably the biggest issue. I think, and like you say, with branching out to more people and making more people feel like you can come, just even if you've never done the sport before, never heard of it, don't know the rules, never had a go, just come down and try it, like, because you might find that you like it.
Brilliant. And Anna?
Well, I'm coming at it from the society side. I joined debating in my first year. I am the current president of Lancaster Debating Union. I sit on also a number of liberation execs, and I'm also on Societies Committee. And joining Societies Committee for me this year has been massively eye-opening, kind of seeing the problems that a lot of societies face, and also just that a lot of societies, the information that is so vital to making an exec work, especially an exec that has bad handover, which unfortunately does happen from time to time, means that a lot of societies are left kind of in this void, not knowing what they're doing and not knowing who to go to. And I think LUSU currently has a problem of the societies that know how to access the help and how to access the information are fine. But we have so many unsupported societies because they either don't know that help is available or don't know how or haven't been told, or that they're just largely ignored. A lot of our academic societies kind of function on their own and aren't utilised as much as they could be, and don't have the support from their departments that they probably need. And this is, I would say the same again of a lot of bar sports. They don't have the equipment that they need and don't have the help and support that they should have, because it feels like there are a set of groups that are in with LUSU and know how it works, but a majority don't. And so kind of making sure they know that help and support is there, and that making sure LUSU celebrates a diverse group of activities and not just, as it kind of has been for the last 2 years, VP sports.
And Zaki's got a question from the audience.
So we have our first question from the current VP of FTO Officer for Activities, Jack Walker, and he's asking if you could instantly change one thing in the area of activities in the Students' Union, excluding improved communications, what would it be and why?
Unlimited funding, of course. I mean, that's one of the main things societies come to me with, can we get more money? And obviously we all know money's tight with things at the minute, especially with Just Play having their funding reaching an end, and obviously with the university, the union, having their funding cut a couple of years ago, which has meant for sports teams in particular we've got an issue, because now people have to have a gym membership in order to join a sports team, which has put a lot of people off joining and getting involved, which is an issue. So yeah, unlimited money would be great.
For me, it would be the introduction of better consent and diversity training. I think we do currently, unfortunately, have a problem on our campus and across campuses across the world, really. But consent training also includes diversity training, which links back to some of the stuff Kim was talking about helping international students feel involved. They're a group that are often largely ignored, unfortunately, and largely excluded. And I think if I could do one thing that would make for a better, safer, more inclusive campus, it would be that.
Brilliant. And Mike?
Sorry, can you just repeat it again?
Yeah, so if you could instantly change one thing in the area of activities within the Student Union, excluding improved communications, what would it be and why?
For activities, any activities?
For activities, yes.
Okay,
In the area of activities in the Student Union.
So at the moment, college pool at the moment, the way I've been told from my handy little thing here is, let's see, exclusivity for pool tables during games. It's so simple that the pool teams just show up and they just have to take the tables. It's not like they get their warm-up period like any other sports do. So it's one thing really simple to change. Nothing too fantastical, I don't know. And unlimited money, which is something hard to do.
And Ben?
So unlimited money would be absolutely fantastic, but unfortunately there's only so big a pot. So I'd look really carefully at the best way we can manage the money we do have to make sure everyone is as happy as possible, which we can try our best. Make sure we can allocate it as viably as possible to all the societies, making sure everyone gets some support from the student union.
Okay, and so I'm going to ask a bit of a tough one now. What do you think your greatest weakness will be in performing the role? In performing this role specifically, and maybe in general. Go on.
For me, I think the weakness that people probably identify within me is the fact that I don't have a sports background.
Okay.
debating is a competitive activity. It does have a lot of crossover with sports in the way that we train and the competitions we go to, but it is not a sport, and I do not have that depth of knowledge that these three have. However, I'm not afraid to ask, and that's something I know Jack has done this year the other way around with asking societies for help, and I don't. While it is a weakness, I think it is a weakness I'm willing to overcome.
Okay.
Very similar. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Go ahead.
Pretty much the exact opposite. So I'm only in one, I've only had to into one society, LD Dart Society, which again kind of operates in a similar way that sports teams do in terms of competing at roses and competitions and things. But like I said earlier, with utilising the societies committee that we have, it's a great way to find out what the issues are with societies and things they need. I know I've been talking to societies this week about the kind of challenges they face, which are often very different from sports societies. And even just within societies, you've got the music ones that debating kind of university challenge sort of society. There's just such a range. So utilising committees and things would be the way to overcome that.
Okay, and Ben?
I'd probably agree with Kim in that I've not had as much involvement with societies as I'd have liked to. So this year I've been lucky to be involved with the 9 College Challenge as part of being on the JCR for Bowland. So I've spoken to the Debating Society as part of that, and I'd really like to have more involvement with that next year to learn more about what they're doing and how they'd like to, what their aims are for next year.
Okay.
Greatest weakness is just there's so many societies and you're just one person on your own trying to combat all this hate and negativity. The hardest thing is going to be trying to organise it all. There's just so much to do.
Do you have good organisation skills?
I'd like to think I do. I managed my degree fine. I was asked this question once before, and I was like, they asked, how will you cope with this? I was like, I didn't realise there was something to cope with. I didn't find organisation a problem.
Okay.
How would you ensure accountability within your role as a full-time officer?
So I'm not sure what you mean by the question.
How do you ensure accountability within your role?
Basically, you've got to make sure you're accountable to the students so that you don't go off and give unlimited money to societies or whatever. Obviously there's a balance to be had in terms of, I'll let you answer the question, but
No, like I say, we're talking to them, communicating with them what they want. So if they come to me with an issue, giving feedback on what I've done about things, and if they come to me with problems, not just leaving the message on red and being okay, but if they've got issues, feeling that they can communicate it with me and me letting them know what I've done about it, or if there is anything I can do about it, rather than just leaving them in the dark with things, so they know what I'm doing about their problems, kind of thing. And if there is something that I'm not doing that they want me to do, that they can like you say, hold me accountable for that and come to me to talk to me about it.
Okay, Mark.
So it's quite similar in a way. It's basically not making these false promises, which happens with so many campaigns. You have all these bulleted lists and you're like, oh yeah, brilliant, let's have that, and then they come into office and don't realise, oh, can't do that. So my promises would be to make sure I'm not accountable for all these things during the election, is to make sure I'm being realistic and making sure that if there is problems, I explain it to them. And so we're on the same side of the table, listen, this is our funding, look, there's nothing we can do here.
Anna?
I think, obviously we have the scrutiny panels once a year, and I think they are a really great way of holding our FTOs accountable. I also think that having things like I talk about in my manifesto, having one-to-one, not one-to-one, tell-me forums with execs is a good way to actually place myself in front of these people and actually have them question you and ask you why you haven't done the things that you've done and see what the problems are. Also, just a little side thing, a lot of the current FTOs run blogs and stuff just to let people know what they're up to, and I think that's a really great way of making sure that you are in contact and there is a record of the things that you are doing each week to make sure people can check up on you and see that you are doing the same things you say you're going to do.
Okay. And Ben?
Very, very similar points. Just making sure that I've spoken to all the clubs and societies which decisions may affect, making sure that they're happy with what's being planned and that their view has been been asked about it. So as I said before, having stuff like meetings with them at the very start of the year, making sure I know what their aims are for the year and drop-ins, so that they can come and raise any issues they may have with what they've heard that's happening within LUSU over the next year.
And so Anna mentioned about the blogs. I was wondering, because something that came up, I'm a member of scrutiny panel, something that comes up on scrutiny panel.
I'm so sorry.
Is that we often criticise the officers for perhaps providing lots of information. They take lots of minutes and that sort of thing, but it's not really accessible to students. Even the blog that they do only gets sort of like 10 a week or something, 10 views a week. Something we suggested is perhaps a vlog. Would anyone consider doing a vlog at all?
I feel like it might take up quite a lot of time, and I know that this role has a lot of a large admin side to it. You know, you're the trustee of a charity, like you have to sit on boards and committees all the time. But I think social media, just in general, if there's like a page, a Facebook page, people could like follow and like for the information, because Facebook's a really easy way to contact people. Yeah, but actually, increase awareness of it, because people, like you say, the blog doesn't get many hits and things. If you push out that these things are there, because I think a lot of people like just aren't aware of it.
There is a video which I read every time I see it come up, and it shows like their face and then the three or four bullet points of what they've been up to each week. I think that's really good, because I take my time out to read what they said, and I imagine a lot of other students would, because it's right there, it's simple, it's only about like 30 seconds long in the video. I think that's a really good idea. I always take my time to look at that when it comes up every week.
I find it's hard enough to get people to remember to buy memberships to a club. I know that half my friends would. I only heard of the student panel when I was researching the roles. And quite a lot of people here are doing their degrees.
Ironically, actually, I think the scrutiny panel. Sorry, actually, I'm not the only person, but it's so carry on. So.
People are busy with their university work. I'm just being bogged down with general life, and you see the emails come in. Delete, and then you go on the LUSU website. Some people will, some people just don't, and there's just a large pool of people who just don't take much of an interest, and it's a real challenge to deal with that, really.
So moving on from media when you have the role and onto your campaigns, it's been noted that you have been using Tinder as campaign Tinder.
Where did you get that idea?
Does this tactic
Jack
not?
Walker, I was known, advised me that this was his campaign technique.
But does it not trivialise?
Jack.
Does it not trivialise the elections and undermine the importance of such a role?
Not at all. As I said, this is something that Jack mentioned that he used when he was campaigning. It's just another way to reach people, just so people can know who you are, and like if they've got any questions, then I've got a Facebook page they can message, ask me things. Like it's just another way to communicate with people that maybe aren't interested in, like you say, there's a lot of people that maybe just aren't really bothered about these kind of elections, but maybe might see something like that and go, oh, well, these are interesting points, or maybe I will.
Does it perhaps turn it into a contest of like appearance over substance?
Not at all. I don't think so at all.
Because that's the sort of premise of Tinder, isn't it?
But I'm not on it to match with people and have conversations. It's just another way of getting out there to communicate with people.
I think it's not a secret that these campaigns have a lot to do with popularity and just getting the word out, and trivialising things is a funny way to get your name around. And if we were to just campaign our points, put up a black and white poster without just our name on, no picture.
Does the use of Tinder though, does that make it more I mean, Tinder is there, it's about sort of attraction.
Would you be asking the same questions about appearance if it was a male candidate using Tinder?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
I completely would, and I think we just asked to push on that point with whoever submitted it. I would. And if we move on to another question, it seems we've gone through that one. How would you improve student engagement within your remit if elected as an FTO? I guess we covered that one.
I have an answer.
Okay, go on, Mike.
So at the moment, Just Play do a scheme. I don't know if it's finished yet, where every college each week has a free pass. The one problem is people delete the emails and they don't see it. And at Squash, I think we got one person one week come with their card. The rest come with an email. They don't use the cards per se. I'd do a different kind of thing, where you get a free session if you bring along a friend, and they get the free session too. That way, you're bringing in new people every time, not just random people who are already in the system. So that's another way to bring more people in.
But does that not undermine your budget and the funding for the sport?
The way Just Play works at the moment is, because of the way it's funded at the moment, the idea is you make it free for a certain number of people, and that increases the amount of money you get in later. That's the idea. And free college is a pretty wide thing. It's just not very many people do it. From my experience, I do squash Just Play.
So with the sharing it amongst the colleges in the 3 weeks, I know in Bowling College there's a Bowling College sports Facebook group, and it's always shared through in there when Bowling College have their free Just Play, as well as all other sports fixtures within Bowling. Do Lonsdale have something similar?
Yeah, we got Just Play 3 weeks and stuff. Yeah.
So you guys have talked a lot about using social media to get your points across, but what about those who aren't interested in it, don't follow the social media pages, and as Mike said, delete the emails as soon as they come through, don't read them? How would you get your points across? How do you get what you've been doing across to those people if they're not on social media and they're not following the emails? What would you do to contact them?
I like the idea of drop-in sessions that you mentioned. I think simple old postering. I mean, like for people on campus particularly, if you can get in their like blocks and just put a poster on the board, then it's an easy way of contacting them. I suppose it's more difficult for people off campus, but maybe if we were allowed to use our academic areas, just on a wall outside a lecture hall or something that people would go and see, and yeah, if they knew they could just like drop in and ask questions and grill you on like what it is you actually do, then I think that's a good way of contacting people.
Yeah, I think another thing like you could look into doing was really utilising student media, and maybe like having a column in Scan or something once a week, which has updates on like the FTOs will write like a little bit about what they've been up to, because like Scan is all over campus when it gets printed and stuff like that, and like that is a physical thing that you don't need to have internet access to get.
The people who are talking about who delete the emails aren't going to pick up a newspaper. I see them. I do see the Scan things. They are everywhere, but I've only looked at them if I'm waiting in Lusu or I've been in it.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we do have to accept that there will always be a certain population of the university that will never engage. And like we can spend as much time and effort as we want trying to engage those people, but some people really are just here to study and have no interest in sports and societies. It's getting the people that are engaged to stay engaged and to stay a part of those societies and to maybe try other things as well, and to kind of reach that group of people that want to be reached out to.
Okay, so I was just wondering, so Anna touched on it earlier about balancing sports and societies, but how will you balance sports? Because obviously you guys are all sports. Are you just going to use the committee, or are there?
When you're talking about balancing, what do you mean?
So if you've come from a sports background,
yeah.
How can society members and execs feel confident that you're going to represent them as well?
Well, this is the thing. I was just talking to some of my friends who have been on execs in societies, and they didn't even realise VP activity covers societies. It is a real big issue, and that's why I've been trying to listen a bit more. And what I try and do is go to the societies and ask what they want a bit more, maybe through emails, and try to go down to some of their sessions and stuff we've had access to when their meetings are. It'd be a lot easier. That was another point I wanted to make. If you say the question again.
So yeah, like balancing your commitment to sport and commitment to societies.
Obviously, the university puts a lot of emphasis on sport because to them that's where they can draw in more students, because sport is something it's easy to check the rankings of. Lancaster's this good at sports, I'm going to go to this university. It's like a sporty person, here's Loughborough, and they want to go. So that's why the money's poured into there. But if you campaigned in such a way saying, look, it's healthy for you to join a society, maybe the university would pay a bit more attention to it.
Okay, anyone else?
Have I left people confused?
Sorry. How will you balance? So you guys from sporty backgrounds. How are you going to balance your commitment to sports and societies as well, so that societies feel represented?
So I'd openly reach out to the societies at the start of the year, so hopefully many of the sports teams could feel they'd engage with me anyway, as I've been involved with them. I know several of their members, but I'd openly reach out, not just at the beginning of the year, but throughout to several of the societies. As I said earlier, my involvement with the 9 College Challenge this year, I've learned a lot about the debating society, also about the University Challenge. I was involved in the bowling team for that myself. So yeah, I'd openly reach out to them, just like to introduce myself. If they, like you said before, they might not know that it's in my remit, the society, so I'd openly reach out to them, say, introduce myself. I'm here, like to say, I'm here to listen to your views. Get in touch with me if there's anything you want.
Kim?
I just ask people simply. I mean, like, if there's something you don't understand or like need more information, I ask people. I mean, I can sit here and list like all like the societies and clubs I've been involved with, but at the end of the day, it's still a tiny proportion of what we have here at Lancaster. And I might have a sporty background. Obviously, I don't understand all sports, so I mean, I'm still going to be looking for input from everywhere. It's not just societies. I think whatever background you come into this role with, there's still so much more to it that you just need to ask people for.
Anything to add, Anna?
I think because of the way the university structures are and the involvement of like Sport England and stuff, a lot of the sports stuff, the structures are already in place for, and I think more emphasis does need to be put on societies. And so whoever ends up in the role, like again, like the same as you, I've been involved in societies, but by no means all societies. Anyone who comes into the role is going to have to take a long time and put a lot of work into really understanding the diversity and celebrating the diversity of societies and sports that we have on campus.
Brilliant. You got anything to add?
Yeah, so a few of you mentioned in your manifestos the idea of providing better exec training. How would you go about doing that and carrying that out?
Well, sort of like Anna mentioned at the start of the year, like you have to go to all these meetings if you're on an exec. Like I'm president of lacrosse at the minute, and like my first couple of weeks of term was just meetings, and it is important. And like same with like JCR training as well. It's just compulsory, but it's just one of those things. And I think more training could definitely be rolled out in the same way, because I mean.
But surely, if there's a need for better exec training, surely just increasing the training in one form, such as the meetings, isn't effective. So how would you provide a different way of training that might be more effective?
I don't really see how the training wouldn't be effective. I mean, I know I like learn a lot in the things that I've been to, like the data protection, things like that. I don't understand how they wouldn't be effective, if you understand what I mean.
As someone who's witnessed an ineffective handover, not my year, but the handover before me at debate, their exec before me were basically not given anything and had nothing, and really had to build themselves up again from scratch. And had there been clearer resources online, whether or not it was a budget template that actually works, unlike the one we currently have, an easy place to find the exact handover form that isn't buried in the bottom of an email or the depths of the Lucy website. If it was knowing the exact contact within Lucy, so you don't have to spend 6 emails trying to get to the right person, it's having really clearly somewhere in like a handbook that can be given or sent to execs that execs can download off the website, that has, okay, this is how what your agenda should look like, this is what your budget should look like, this is what an annual general report should look like, this is how you run an AGM. Like these things.
Would you consider giving training yourself to new exec members?
I know that this is something they try to do this year.
Yeah.
It was largely ineffective because of the amount of time it takes.
Okay.
And there are some, you just never hit everyone. So I think things that will work the best are things like the current data protection training that limit your access and that you have to do in order to gain access to resources.
Brilliant. Okay, and Mike?
Can you repeat the question? I'll keep losing sight.
Okay, so wait, where were we?
So how would you provide better exec training, improve it from what it is now, or improve something that you've seen as being a failure?
Well, exec training, quite frankly, most clubs don't want to do it. It's something which is compulsory, and one way Just Play try and make people come to their meetings like free pizza and stuff, something easy and simple to make it a bit more relaxed and not so just going through the thing. I know it's hard to pinpoint the exact thing. There's a reason why it's a problem and it's a difficult one. I haven't got an immediate solution.
Okay, and finally, Ben?
Like you were saying before about having meetings, maybe try and keep them get all of the main points across. Like if these meetings are dragging on and on, people will disengage, they'll switch off, they won't listen to what's being said, and then all of the teaching that they're saying will be lost. So just keep them like as short as needs be, but at the same time to get all the main points across so that the relevant execs they get the information they need, and also have all the information they need available online, be it through the box, which is available on the student portal. I've been using that a bit this year for document sharing. I think that might be quite a good way of doing it.
Okay, so I was just wondering, in terms of we've addressed policy aspects of things. Obviously, your personal capacity and your abilities also come into it when people are voting for you. So, why do you think each of you is the best candidate for this?
What a savage question.
Kim.
That's so mean. Oh. My experience, just in general, I'd say. I mean, like I say, I am part of like societies. I mean, it's only limited experience, but I've had experience with societies, clubs, exec experience as well, and direct experience with Roses. And I just think, as someone with a lot of experience and knowledge of Lancaster, I've been here 3 years now, I do understand things and how things work. Again, even down to things like participation, like I know how hard it is to get people to come to things. I know how hard it is to get people to engage like with international students because I'm on a JCR. So just the fact that I understand so many aspects of university life, I like to think I'm someone that people could easily like associate like with and like relate to and could communicate with if they had a problem.
Okay, and Anna?
As I've already said, I'm the current president of debating, which means I have a lot of exec experience. It's given me experience of organising large-scale events, such as we run a schools competition and a large debating competition every year. I'm also currently on our societies committee, which means I have spent a lot of time reading over things like budgets and reviewing societies and really getting to grips with how LUSU runs our societies and things like that. I'm also the welfare officer for Women Plus Forum, as well as an LGBT officer for the North and Midlands Debating Alliance. So I have that kind of cross-section of also being part of a competitive society and having to run that, and also the admin side with LUSU, but also like the human aspect of like understanding what people want, and that you can't just treat people as numbers within a society, and that you have to make sure they are looked after and happy.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, there's loads of evidence, but I'm just going to stick it nice and simple. I'm experienced, I'm realistic, and I'm hardworking.
What's your experience?
My experience is Just Play and being the many roles within the society club.
Okay, Ben?
I'm really passionate about this role because I care about so many clubs and societies at this university, the ones I've been involved in, the ones friends have been involved in, and ones I want to learn more about next year. I'm hard-working, I think I'm well organised as well, and also I've got experience which I think would help in this role through 2 years on the exec for the athletics club, and also I've been on the JCR for Bowland. I think I've got experience, hard working, and also passion for this role.
So, have any of you actually had involvement with LUSU at all, perhaps as PTOs or formerly cross-campus officers or anything like that?
That's the JCR. JCR for Bowland.
The JCR sports committee, like the Roses committee, with obviously going with Jack to the conference in York.
Okay.
So getting in that sense.
Societies committee is in LUSU, and just hours spent in meetings trying to figure out debate things and school things and all that kind of stuff.
Just play, and over the last summer I worked with Lucy doing the University Open Days.
Okay. Any more questions, Simon?
So you're all part of societies, quite high up society in JCRs, and what mistakes have you made in there that you would prevent making that same mistake as an FTO? Mike?
Yeah, but I've made plenty of mistakes. Of course I have. We're all human. So in first year, when I came into my role as second team captain, I was handed over this design of the kit. I had to get everyone's names and stuff, and it turned out the kit we ordered, despite being small, medium, large, small became medium, medium was large, and the kit was just too heavy and everything. So that was one mistake. I can. With other things, there are other things.
So how do you prevent you doing?
The fact that
something
I've
like
made the mistakes is why I won't make them again. It's the experience of going through the process and knowing, wait a minute, I shouldn't have done that. I should do it this way next time. Does that make sense?
This one. Anna?
I think in the past, especially coming on and being a first year, became president of debating in my first year, and kind of was at times, especially at the start of my presidency, unwilling to reach out and ask for help, and kind of wanted to think that I could do it all, and obviously no one can do it all, especially not in a role especially not in an FTO role. You are going to need to reach out for help because there is so much going on, and I think understanding that it is okay to ask for help, and that you are going to make and also learning that it is okay to make the mistakes sometimes, and that it is a learning experience, and the world doesn't end because you didn't send an email at the right time, and things like that. Just, it is okay to reach out.
Ben?
It's hard to pinpoint one thing that went drastically wrong in my time on the JCR or in athletics exec or whatever. I mean, both still here in one piece. But I think perhaps when I first started uni, I lacked maybe leadership, and I lacked leadership, and I think through being on the exec I managed to engage with more people, and then in the JCR as well, because I was the vice president, so I had to fill in for the president sometimes as well. So I think that definitely helped me, and I think that's definitely improved throughout my time at the university.
I think one mistake is maybe assuming that when you come into the role that everything's sort of going to be set in place. So kind of like you mentioned with bad handovers, it's awful when you walk into a role and you've suddenly got to sort out issues that weren't created by you that you don't fully understand and things like that. So I think definitely making sure you've got all the relevant information from whoever's currently got the role before they disappear and it's too late to contact them suddenly. So yeah, that's how I'd fix that.
And if you could criticise the current VP for activities, what would you say? I guess we'll go with Ben.
Perhaps maybe at the start of the year I didn't know who Jack was. I've got to know him a bit, especially in the last couple of weeks, but throughout the term as it went on I recognised him out and about more. But perhaps that's a problem for all of the FTOs. Maybe their faces aren't as known initially at the start of the year.
Okay, Anna?
I think kind of similar but kind of not. I think Jack was a lot of the stuff. I think the problem with the activities role is a lot of the stuff is behind the scenes, and you don't get to see exactly what Jack's doing. So it was perceived as he was very slow off the mark with getting things done. This wasn't the case, but it was perceived that was what was happening, and kind of making, again, kind of with the visibility, but just making sure that can't be a criticism levelled against me. Also, he's just too tall.
Yeah, I'm fine.
He's too tall.
Every time I go near him, whoa.
He stands up sometimes, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, you are an actual giant.
Okay, and Kim?
Sort of exactly the same, just visibility, making sure people know who you are, and like you say, a lot of the stuff is sort of administrative and behind the scenes, and it's a very busy job. You don't always have time to go down and personally introduce yourself to every single exec on campus because it's just not feasible with the amount of work that goes on. But having somewhere like a board where you could see, pictures of who it is, so you could put a face to the name, so you know who it is that is your VP activities, your contact.
And finally, Mike.
Yeah, personally through squash I haven't found much of a problem, but I reckon through more college sports and stuff like that, they feel like they've been ignored, and there's more kind of unrest below the the sports groups really.
So an issue we sort of touched on throughout is funding, and as funding support for sports societies is probably the main issue the VP of Activities faces in his role. How will you work to support the sports societies and the student groups, fully knowing that there isn't enough to support all of them?
So a big thing the university is working on this year and that we're working on through Societies Committee is sustainable funding. So making sure it is this year, and it was something that would continue, is making sure that societies know that the funding they are getting isn't something they may get every year, and that the universities and LUSU are looking to invest heavily in things that are sustainable, so equipment that can be used year on year on year, and not just funding for big one-off events is great and definitely something that should happen. Making sure that the societies and sports groups have the structures in place to make sure they can keep running these events, but not with the high sunk costs year on year. So maybe investing in a whole load of equipment to help them run the same things again and again.
Mike?
Yeah, I filled in one of these forms for sustainability, and all you do is, you're going to get some funding generally, mostly Rose's funding. You fill in these things saying we'll do this, and we say this is sustainable, we're going to do this, but you're filling it in because you have to, not because you believe it, and so it doesn't really work that well. Best way to manage it is to be honest and to be to society saying, look what we have, it's bad, we can't do it all. This is why Sport Lancaster Plus was introduced. It was to gain more money so we could help more. So I find it very difficult to know how to manage it without seeing the whole big picture, which I just don't know without visiting 250 societies.
Ben?
I think, firstly, listen to what they have to say, listen to their arguments of why they think it's worth spending that money on, and then go back, consider that, have a look at all the pros and cons, and if it's just not feasible, if there's not enough money for it, go back to them and say, don't just say, it's not going to happen, we can't have this, say, what can LUSU offer you instead, and give them an alternative.
I'd agree with that. So like giving them feedback and things, and being transparent with the cost. Be like, if there's not much you can do, just say this is what we have available. If they are struggling and they've come to you for help, then maybe say, well, we look at your budget, understand their needs, what is it they need, and if it's things like equipment that is sustainable, then helping them understand that is a good investment in things, and
Good. Any more questions from the audience?
Not as yet.
Okay.
One from Jack.
Is Jack playing, is he now?
Jack.
Yeah, Jack's playing.
Good luck. Okay.
Handball.
I guess we'll just ask another one of these. Why do you think the activities FTO role should be a role? Why can't it be sort of incorporated in something else? Go on.
I think the main reason, we've all touched on it, is because there's that many clubs and societies.
Yeah.
Like if it was incorporated into it, and so you took this one away and there was 5 FTOs and you had to incorporate that all into another person's role, they'd have too much to do. So like we've all said, there's so many clubs and societies, that's why they all need a voice, and it's a shame it's only one person, because there's that many of them.
Would you have more roles on LUSU if you could, do you think?
For FTOs or in general? That's a good question. Whether they have to be FTOs or not, or whether just more representative, perhaps PTOs. It'd be worthwhile having a look into.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think it's maybe necessary to have another position, but like what Jack does with having the sports committee and societies committee, just another way of breaking that down, so it's not all on him and he's got to source information from 250 clubs. He can go through other people and he's got the channels to do that.
Anyone else?
It's not just the FTO on your own. There's an activities team. It's this year they've introduced. You have a lead contact, and that helps manage the role in a way, so they don't have to be managing all the emails. They can be going to someone else and be fed back in a more controlled way.
Okay, Anna.
Yeah, like it should definitely be a role. This is what we've been said. Like one person can't manage 200 and.
Should there be extra roles?
No, I don't think there needs to be another FTO role. I'm aware that I think I got told this morning the university pay it's like £100 or something for FTOs already. Like the university shouldn't be spending its money on another another full-time student representative. Perhaps maybe expanding and seeing if we can get our execs and our student and sport representatives more involved through things like the sports and societies committees. That would be a better way of doing it than spending university money on another job.
And okay, so the new democratic reforms that have come in, obviously that's reduced the amount of officer roles available.
Yeah.
Does that put extra strain on FTOs, perhaps in specifically activities? How do you think that will affect the activities role, and do you think that puts extra strain? Anna?
I don't think it. I don't think activities is the one it particularly affects the most. I think a lot of the cross-campus officers that were gotten rid of, the only ones that were kept were the liberation ones. I think activities, I think it put strain on the team as a whole. I don't think it put strain on one individual, perhaps, but the fact that there was strain on the team as a whole, and the fact that the 2015-16 team who brought in the new democratic structures left without a solid plan for how they would be implemented, left the current FTOs in a place that they didn't necessarily expect to be, and I think that was a massive problem, and put strain on everyone, and therefore everyone could have had to draw on students more, which is why I think there has been noticeably more student engagement this year with things like scrutiny panels and societies and sports committees, and also just like the expansion of things like our liberation groups and forums and stuff.
Okay, and Bam?
Can you repeat the question, sorry?
The democratic reforms, how do you think they will affect your role in terms of the fact that you've got less officers to help out with these sorts of things?
I think that it will affect the role, that there's less of a support network for you, but as Anna said, it's perhaps one of the roles that's been less affected by the changes. I know with the JCRs, for example, is only two of the presidents at a time are represented on the university council, so perhaps maybe union development is maybe a bit more affected by that, for example.
But it could have, but specifically within activities, you don't think it will have much effect?
It will have some effect, but perhaps the less effect than our colleagues going for other positions.
And does anyone have anything to add?
Just agree in the same way, but I think in a way it will make the team of full-time officer gets elected a lot tighter, because they'll have to work together so much more to deliver in the same way.
I didn't even know about this problem. This is the thing which is happening. There's a large unengaged audience. I didn't realise. I knew there was elections last year about changing the structure, but I didn't realise what was happening in terms of what's changing particularly. And I can't answer the question because I didn't even know about it.
Okay.
So how do you think LUSU should deal with national issues such as the higher education bill that's come in? Do you want to start, Kim?
I don't know if it's something that affects activities as much as, like you say, it will affect other people.
Just more sort of LUSU in general.
Yeah.
How do you think that LUSU and you being part of full-time office, how do you think the team would end up dealing with it?
Maybe just listening to people and like what they think about it, how they feel like it affects them, and raising those concerns with the appropriate people, having their voices heard.
So I don't think at the moment I'm researched enough on such issues to say how the LUSU would represent the student body on such issues. It'd be definitely something to look into in the future.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make an uninformed opinion. It would be a waste of time and just a bad idea in general to do. I know that the role does include making such decisions. Because obviously when you have the FTO meetings, I'd like to have the sit down and hear what the education officer has to say about this and be able to grasp what they've researched in the area, because they're the people who are going to know the most.
I think a large part of the job when it comes to things like the higher education bill is reassuring students Obviously, fee increases are something that are already happening, and it is worryingly the start of piecemeal fee increases, especially with things like the teaching excellence standard, I forget what it's called, but the gold, silver, bronze ranking, and the university is currently trying to push us into that gold bracket and putting a lot of work into that, possibly at the expense of student experience. And so I think making it clear to the university that we are the students' union and we are here to represent the students and the wills of the students, and not the university governing body's own agenda.
And if you wanted to sort of maximise the ability of the activities officer to help out in the activities role and represent students in the activities roles, how would you change any of the structures within LUSU, any of the democratic structures? Jen?
Maybe just forming the communication groups they use slightly differently. So societies, for example, having one societies committee instead of that, maybe having grouping societies, so having a representative from music societies, from the academic societies, from debating and interest groups, things like that. So rather than just having one one committee where maybe a particular group's excluded, having different channels available to make sure you're reaching everyone.
Okay. Mike?
So this is about structures we change in LUSU.
Yeah, how would you change them in order to represent societies and sports better?
So the people who know best are obviously the societies. They know what they want out of the Students' Union, and asking them would be very helpful. Of course, knowing the structure, all the little bits of the structure of LUSU, I don't know it all. It's
do you think you should?
It's out of my experience. Should I? This role's open to anyone. I've put my work into being president of a club, and that's where I've focused my time on. Knowing it is something which a lot of us will get to grasp a lot more in the role.
Okay, but you don't think it's important as a candidate for you to understand the functions of structures of LUSU?
It is, but we've only got a certain amount of time to campaign within our own time, and you've got your degree and everything, and you've got to try and put together this whole campaign, and being able to know everything, it's a bit weird, especially as over the summer when you're in the role there's going to be training, so that's when you get to know what's going on.
Okay. And Anna?
Firstly, I'd like to see the inclusions of student media on Sports and Societies Committee. They're nodding over there. They don't currently have a voice on these committees, and they are a massive part of the way the Students' Union in particular is able to communicate their message to students. Also, things it's just left my brain. Working with VP Education to really utilise our academic societies. As I said earlier, they're a lot of times forgotten about. And when it comes to things like helping our students and helping with student retention, there are multiple studies that show that students who are part of societies are more likely to stay in university, particularly, and we should be utilising societies that are there to help people with their degree. And so kind of making sure they are more included on things like Societies Committee.
Okay.
So I think that...
Where have we asked Ben? Just go quickly.
I'll go very quickly. Making sure that as many people's voices are heard as well, so that LUSU can make informed decisions about where it's going to go. But making sure that the relevant people are consulted about the decisions there.
Is there anything in the structure you'd like to change in order to make that happen?
I do have some knowledge of LUSU structure, but without being in the role, I wouldn't know what is the best way to change it exactly to know exactly how well it's functioning at the moment.
Okay.
So I think that brings me to the questions. Could we just get closing statements from you all? So Anne, we'll start with you.
Activities is something I'm massively passionate about. It's something I put a lot of my time into. It's the thing I enjoy most about being at university. I'm willing to work hard and put the hours in and to learn as I go. So please consider voting for me. Yeah.
Hey, if you feel like you're not being listened to, I am listening. So vote right, vote Mike.
Big Brother's listening.
Yeah.
Ben?
Yeah, this is a role I really care about. I've got a lot of enthusiasm for the societies and for all the sports teams. It's really enhanced my own university experience here, so I'd love to give back my time and energy into making sure that other students have had the same experience that I have here as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, so again, like, I think everyone would agree that like their sports clubs and societies are something that they really love about the university experience, and it's important to everyone in a different way. So I want people to know that I'm here to listen to your views, why you think certain things, what you want from your society and what people think Lucy could be doing for them. I'm here to listen to other people's views. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you for listening, listeners, and hopefully you'll be able to watch it on Facebook as well. We've enjoyed our time here, and I hope everyone's got to know the activities candidates
We
better.
wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.